Yo, welcome everybody to another episode to the Latin Wealth Podcast, and I'm super excited about today's episode because we got another phenomenal guest on the podcast, and I'm at the studio again. Y'all know I love being at the studio. A little bit about my guest today. He is the founder of the Hudson Group, which is a real estate firm out here in New York City. They help with everything such as commercial, residential sales, rentals, and private equity lending. Also the founder of the Hudson Group Media, which is also a way that he's been documenting his journey along his career on YouTube. We're right here at this dope studio, right? He's also a husband, a father, and just overall a great guy. You know, we were chopping it up for it seems like a couple hours before this show. Welcome to the podcast, Luis Omar Figueroa. How you doing today, bro?
Chris, I'm great. Thanks for having me, and thank you for calling me a great guy. I appreciate that. That's really, a lot of people don't
you don't hear
understand that about me. You know what I mean? But I'm a great guy. I appreciate that. You say it enough, it becomes a reality.
No, great man for sure. We definitely were chopping it up before this podcast. Something we were kind of talking about, and I seen that you're actually a Nets fan, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Laker fan.
Are you?
So
of course you are.
We don't have to talk too much about the Lakers at all. But I'm curious, man. Like, what's up with the Nets? Do you feel like how far you feel like you guys are going to go?
We'll definitely get into the playoffs. Okay. How deep depends on how healthy.
Yeah.
And also, not to date the podcast, but I think the trade deadline's coming up. Yeah. So they're talking about doing some things. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, they got a good enough team to get to the playoffs. How deep into the playoffs depends on health. Okay. You know, right now KD's sitting down for like 2 weeks at least. So we'll see how it goes.
How long you been a Nets fan for?
I became a Nets fan officially in 2017. Okay. 2017, I was hit up on LinkedIn by a guy who worked for the Nets, and he was trying to sell tickets, obviously, but he hit me up. He's like, "Hey man, I'd like to host you." And I didn't know what that meant at the time. So he was like, "I'd like you to come to a game with your family." And I'm like, "All right, well, where are we going to sit?" And he was like, "Well, where do you want to sit?" I was like, "Well, if I'm going to buy tickets, they're going to be very close to the floor." So it happened to be Kobe's last game against the Nets. Not that, that was his tour. And we were sitting like four rows back from the wood. And what I liked about them was that they didn't have any really big stars, but unlike the Knicks, shout out to the Knicks. I used to be a Knicks fan. The Knicks, even when they had Carmelo and all that, always had this culture of if things didn't go their way, you kind of saw their energy go by the second half, and you kind of knew they gave up. With the Nets, even though they had no big time stars, they were trying to win the game. They were trying to win the game all the way to the end, no matter what. They were trying to win the game, and it kind of resonated with me in terms of the way I approach life, where you go all the way to the end. And so I became a fan. And then they started making big trades, and now we got some superstars. But when I started going to the games, they had I can't even remember the kid's name, like Karis LeVert, Jared Allen. They were good picks. Good, they were good picks, but nobody was a superstar. And that's kind of got endeared to them.
I love that. The Lakers are always in the trade rumors. We're trying to get this so and so and so and so.
You got LeBron.
Yeah. But you said something key. You said, you apply it to your life, just trying to go all the way to the end, try to win. How do you apply that to your life? What does that look like for you?
Well, we were talking about this earlier when we were having coffee at Mimi's Coffee House. Shout out to Mimi. I gotta plug all my people.
I gotta plug them.
Nah, man. Look, like we talked about it, not to sound dark, but we get this one shot, and as long as the life we think we have in the grand scope of it, it's really just a fucking flash. And the biggest thing I think I also spoke to you about was that the regret of not doing something, I think, weighs heavier on a person than trying and failing. Because trying and failure, you can learn and revisit and maybe reapply and readjust, but never trying and then beating yourself up about that. Because you just, the what if, right? The what if and regret. And I think I can't live like that. I'd rather go the other way and just exhaust all possibility until I'm in the dirt. I know I'm not trying to sound morbid. I'm just, attack each day. Like it could be your last. Not sounding like I live like I'm going to die, but I know it's going to come one day. So might as well just squeeze the life out of it.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to get into your story, but I'm curious, why do you feel like people don't go after it? Why do you think people are too much on the fence and they don't go after the things that truly make them happy or that can potentially change their life? What do you think that is?
I mean, a couple of different a couple of different answers to that question. Well, the one thing is, I think a lot of people don't even know what makes them happy, right? I think they're so busy trying to make other people happy,
That's good.
whether it's their parents or their spouse or whoever, their kids, and they haven't really identified what would truly make them happy. And then the second part becomes fear, right? It becomes fear. Sometimes we build a construct of our lives where, you start getting obligations, and then you have monthly obligations that you have to fill, and you find a way to pay those obligations. That becomes almost like your prison, and you no longer think outside the lines of the prison, because even if it's a golden cage, I don't know if you've ever heard that concept where you're making good money, but you still work for someone else, or there's somebody you're answering to. So I think the fear of,
not to cut you off, that golden cage, is that almost like a comfortable zone, like you making good money?
Well, you feel that you feel like you're making good money, and you are, right? And if we start talking about the average American salary being $60,000 a year, like, you know what I'm saying, like we can quantify all that. But then the question becomes also, is it enough for you to live the life you want to live? And nobody can answer that but you. One of my friends who works for a company, I won't mention names, he said something to me. He's like, yo, they'll pay me well, but never enough to live next to them, meaning the CEO, the owner. Yeah. So as long as you're aware of that, and you're aware of what would make you happy, what would be your number, if you have that number, then you adjust your life accordingly. But most people, like you were saying, there's the golden handcuffs. Like, you get a job, they'll pay you really well to keep you in your lane, but they keep you there. Like sometimes, like if you go all in, you won't even know what you can accomplish until you're put in a position where you have to accomplish something. And if you accomplish it, what you thought you could accomplish could have been just the beginning of something bigger, right? Like, I have this saying where you climb up the stairs and you get to a landing, right? And you get to this landing, and the landing, it represents some sort of level of success. But then you look to your left or your right, and there's another set of stairs. You wouldn't see it because you were down there. You get to the landing, now you see there's more to conquer. There's more to conquer, and that's forever. Yeah, it could be forever, and that could be a good or a bad thing. I choose to look at it as a good thing, because I feel that if you get stagnant is when you start to kind of like lose it a little bit, and iron's iron, all those little theories. Just, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing.
So I'm curious. We can jump into your story. Like, where did this mindset come from? Like, talk to us about your background and you growing up. We're out here in New York City. Yeah. I know you're from New York. Talk to us about your upbringing.
The upbringing was, mom came from Puerto Rico, speaking no English. Section 8, for people that know what that is, and food stamps and cheese and all that stuff. And me being there, and me having family members, and me at one point just saying to myself, this ain't it. This can't be it. This ain't it for me. I don't know what it is, but this ain't it.
How old were you when you had those thoughts?
Probably 8, 9, 10.
Wow.
8, 9, 10. When I would hear like other family members talking about, hey, if we're lucky, we get picked for the lottery of Section 8. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to live like that. Like, again, I had no. So going back to my upbringing, I grew up on 196 in Jerome, which is, for the people that know, in the Bronx, the hood. Your idols were the guys on the corner. You got idols were guys doing things on the street that weren't good, but that's all you knew as success. Then I got transplanted over to another part of the Bronx, a nicer area. I went to Lehman High School, and then I went to NYU. And when I went to NYU, was the first time I really was exposed to real wealth. And when I mean that, I mean by, like, I remember being on the line at the bursar's office. I don't know if people even know what that is anymore, pay tuition. I had my financial aid package, my scholarships, my money orders, my this, my that, and the kid in front of me is swiping their tuition with a credit card. And I'm like, wow. I was like, you could do that? Like, and it just started opening up my mind. And I got really lucky. Where I got exposed. I think I've always tried to be of service and of value. And in turn, I feel that I've always been kind of lucky, right? They say when preparation and opportunity meet, you become lucky. And so I've got a lot of opportunities to work around affluence. And when you come from nothing, affluence can be intimidating because you don't know how to act, right? Like you're taught, and we talked about this off camera before, you're taught this is the way you act around certain people. I remember when I interviewed for this one job on 79th and Broadway, the Apthorpe, I was in college still, I was interviewing to be a doorman, right? And I was plugged in to get this job. Like, somebody else called, said this good kid, like you had to be referred to get this job. So in the building, the chairman of American Express, Bernard Arnault, lived there, Rosie O'Donnell, Cyndi Lauper, Nicholas Pileggi, he wrote Goodfellas, Nora Ephron, all these people, they lived there, right? It was a rental, West Side, and you're in the elevator. So I'm doing the interview, I'm like 17 years old. And the lady, I remember she's the older lady. I don't even know her name, but I'm going like chic old, like old school matching dress with blazer, hair slick, a lot of makeup. She was like, "You're to be there, but not to be heard." She was like, they talk to you, don't talk to them back, just do what they say. Like she was basically saying, "Hey, you're there just to do what they want. Don't talk, don't interact." Wow. So like, I'm like, the job was paying like. And this is going back into the early 90s, like $16 an hour. I'm like 17. I'm like, whatever you want me to do, I'm gonna do. You gotta wear a blazer, whatever. So I'm the elevator man. You tell me where you want to go and I press the button. That's what my job was. But as I'm in the buildings and I was doing the vacations for all the guys that worked there, it was 4 different adjoining buildings. I met everybody. And one thing I noticed about all of them is that they were super cool. They were super cool. I mean, I didn't initiate, but I couldn't be rude if they're asking me questions. You got to answer. And they were like, "Oh, you're in college. That's great. Or you should do this. You should do that." And it was always about. They were trying to truly be helpful. They were really trying to kick game to me in a good way. Whereas where I come from, people were always detracting and really trying to tear you down. Why are you going to college? College for smart people. And then like any stupid thing that could possibly be said, I've heard it. And I'm like. And luckily, the gift and the curse of me being very stubborn, I believe what I believe until you prove me wrong. So meeting, Rosie O'Donnell, Cyndi Lauper, they were all cool. You're in college, you're doing that, you're doing this. Oh, if you need anything, like trying to be of service. And I was like, yo, okay. And then I ended up getting another job through somebody that worked there, because I was being of service, I guess, right? So it keeps leading to more opportunity, right?
So, no, that's dope. And I'm curious now, when did you get that itch for entrepreneurship? Like, when did you start exposing yourself to entrepreneurship? I know at this point, you're around wealth, you're around successful people, and you see how they're treating folks, and it's opening your eyes. But when did you get that itch to, like, jump into it?
I think the itch, it initially started, I was like 15, 16, I was running a gym in the Bronx. Shout out to Butch. And so running the front desk of a gym is nothing. You're there and, people come in, they swipe their card or whatever. And but then the hustle was personal training, right? Personal training, I'm going back to the 90s. They're like, yo, you can make $30 an hour, you can make $50 an hour, you can make $100 an hour, like depending on your market. So then I got certified and I was in shape and, people will come out, want you to train me. And so I'm now making, at 17 years old, $50 an hour, right? So I'd work at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, make $100, work out, go to school, like, lead that life. And then at night, and then when I got into the Manhattan market, you're charging $100 an hour. And like, I'm like, wow, you could do this. So I learned about marketing. I learned about being personable. And again, going back to being of service, like, that's the one thing you keep hearing in this podcast, being of service. If you're truly of service and try to provide value to someone else, shit will happen for you. It's when you're doing it with the wrong motive, it never happens to you because the universe hears it. The vibration is clear. You know what I'm saying? And people can see through you. So if you're of service and you're in the right proximity of people that can help, all of a sudden magic happens. So going back to that, that's when I kind of started understanding, well, yeah, if I get a higher level paying skill, I can make more money. And so for the 1 hour, instead of making $8 an hour, I'm making $100 an hour. And that's where that kind of started, that the math started going off my head.
Okay, dope. Yeah, I love that because I tell people all the time, like, if you have a good product, good service, and you're a good person, and you have good intentions, people are going to talk about you when you're not in the room. When there's opportunities in other room, people are going to bring your name up. That's what you want, right? And when you have that servant mindset, you open up those opportunities and you open up those doors. Yeah. I mean, look, the name, the acronym FAN is fanatic, right? They become fanatical about you. You give good service, bro. Yeah. That's your best marketing. Hey, man, yo, call my guy. Well, I have friends of mine. They hear you say anything on mortgages or real estate. Don't even finish what you're saying. Just call him. He'll hold you down. New York City, anywhere.
Just call him. He'll figure it out for you. He'll hold you down. And
Yeah.
that's because I've always gone above and beyond.
Yeah. So talk to us. When did you get into real estate?
Real estate I got into in 2012. I was in lending before that. I was in lending since 04, 05, right before the meltdown.
Yeah. And so not to cut you off, what I really love to do on this podcast is break down like certain terms maybe that are not familiar with people.
Okay.
So for people that are not familiar with lending, what does that look like?
So my specialization in lending is BPL, business purpose lending, which is investment properties.
Yes.
So if it's not your primary, that's really my strength. I can help you get into a investment property, whether that's a 1-family, 2-family, 3-family, 4-family, mixed use, office building, commercial, supermarket, anything, as long as you don't live there. That is my niche. That's where I built my name on, and I'm very creative. And that's kind of, I don't know if being Latin was one of the reasons I was so creative, because when I first started in the resi market, Latinos, they didn't make a lot of money by themselves, but they always had it was him, his wife, her sister, and their cousin.
Yeah.
So you could put 4 people on a loan. So that I became really, really good at that, like putting 4 people together and increasing their buying power. And that was another reason people started looking for me, because we couldn't go. We went to Bank of America. He said no, but Omar, he said yes. So go see Omar. He'll figure it out for you.
So these families would come to you and be like, "Hey, look, there's 3 other people I can bring, and we're trying to get an investment property. Can you help us?"
No, it didn't work out like that. It would always be like, "Yo, it's me. I want to do this." And in the beginning, it was primaries. I was doing FHA, VA, conventional. And they were like, well, I want to buy this house. I'm like, all right, well, who's going to live there? Well, me and my wife. I was like, all right, you guys only make this amount of money. To buy this type of house, you got to have this amount of money. Well, her sister's going to live with us too. Well, is she willing to be on the loan? Yeah, her boyfriend too. Well, is he willing to be on the loan? Or my son will. It became, I got the whole picture. I was like, well, I need everybody. If you guys want in, I need everybody. And that's how I learned how to ask the right questions to see what they had to help them get what they want.
Got you. So in 2012, you start your own company?
In 2012, I opened up Hudson Group Realty Network, yes.
Yeah.
And 2012, I was told that we needed a New York real estate broker license to do certain loans that I was doing already. So they said, you have 1 year to get it, or we're not going to allow you to do them.
Who's they?
Regulators, different banks. They're like, oh, we need this to get done. We know who you are. We like to rock with you, but just get it done. So I became an agent. I sold, at that time, there's a lot of short sales happening. So I sold 40 houses. And that wasn't even my specialty. I just knew I needed to get it done. So I knew how to do loans, and I knew that they were doing short sales. So then I was just like, look, man, I got the loan for you. Let me do the real estate part too. And as long as the client won, they were like, yeah, just do it.
So it was about 2009 is when the market crashed.
2008 was the official meltdown.
Yeah. So I was young, right?
How old were you?
How old was I?
Yeah.
So that was, what is that? 10, 28. I was probably 16.
Oh, wow. Okay.
15 around there.
Yeah.
No, I'm tripping. No. Yeah, I was 15, yeah.
Okay.
So when did it start to turn around? Did it turn around 2012?
What happened was 08, 09. So what originally happened was in 2003, 4, 5, regulation went kind of left. And I use that word sparingly in terms of Wall Street. You ever watch that movie, The Big Short?
I have not.
Or you should watch that movie.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. But Wall Street was kind of dictating the programs. And when I say Wall Street, I mean private investment banks, not the government, not GSEs, which are called government sponsoring entities, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, nothing with that. It was guys that were trying to make money. So they were like, yo, we'll do 106% financing. We'll do this, we'll do that. Well, they were getting crazy with it. And they artificially drove prices up. But the problem was that since nobody had any equity because they weren't putting any money into the property, people were walking away. And that's what created the implosion. Because now the concept they used back in the day was like, well, if this house is on fire, all the houses are going to catch fire. So let's stop the fire there, right? So they were trying to figure out ways to kind of stop people from walking away. In Florida, you would get evicted or foreclosed and thrown out your house in 7 days. In New York, it could take 10 years. So every state was different, right? So you have that kind of 08, 09, everything's on fire. I think 2010 or 11, FHA, which is the Federal Housing Administration, which is a GSC, which is a government sponsoring entity. I'm just breaking it down like you told me to. They accounted, before that, they accounted for maybe 3% of the financing in America. During those years, they accounted for about 95% of the so the government stepped in to kind of stop the fire, right? To kind of, before the whole country just fell apart. And that's where you started seeing more of a stabilization, because they had to give access to capital. Very, very, very kind of like what they did with COVID.
I was just going to say,
what kind of like what they did with COVID.
Similarities did you see during that time to COVID to even like to 2023 today?
Well, COVID was a pandemic, which was different, right? It was a health thing, right? People were dying, so it's a different thing. But the reaction from the banks and all the lending institutions during COVID, I'll say in about 3 weeks, everybody shut down, right? Whereas during the meltdown of 2008, and I don't know if it was because of the proliferation of the internet, whatever, it maybe took 3 or 4 months. Like, people were shutting down. They were trying to struggle, but I mean, I know you're young. Let me give you an example. What if everybody at Chase went to work one day and Chase was closed? That's what happened to certain mortgage banks. Like, people in Long Island went to their jobs and the padlocks were on, shut down. Lehman Brothers, which probably doesn't mean anything to you. Lehman Brothers was like considered like, I'm trying to think of Charles Schwab. Yeah. That type of big house went bankrupt. Like, these are all, this was crazy. This was crazy. George Bush, was it George Bush? Yeah, I think it was George Bush. He was the president at the time. And he was talking about, he did this in a closed door conference. Like, there was no recording allowed. And he was just like, yo, we didn't know what was going on. We were just trying to deal with it. You know, like, he was like, every day we were getting these reports. And now he can say that, you know, being so far away from the incident. But during the incident, you know, they have that face, that stiff upper lip. Hey, we're going to be good. Everything's fine.
You got to have that.
But even then, he's like, we don't know what the fuck was happening. You know, like, every day we get a report and we're like, yo, how are we going to save this? How are we going to fix this? You know, and yeah, so it's pretty crazy. So COVID was just a very quick knee-jerk reaction. Like, I've never seen something contained so quickly in terms of economics, right? From mortgage banks allowing you not to pay your mortgage, from cars.
Insane.
I mean, yeah, they were like, yo, you take a year off, don't worry about it. Like, and then I had to figure out a way to keep getting business done, because there were certain people still making moves, right? Some people sitting on cash, they want to make moves, so you couldn't go to a house, but they wanted to buy. Like, it was wild. It was wild. But innovation, COVID was definitely about innovation, and 2008 was just like the economic system. The money wasn't moving, so nothing was moving. During COVID, things were still trying to be moving, even though it was a little harder. Like, for example, to qualify for a regular conventional loan, they would get a pay stub from you. They would call, make sure you had a job. The day of closing, they would call again and make sure you still had your job, because people were getting fired left and right. 2 weeks later, they would call and make sure you still had your job. So it was kind of wild, but yeah, it was wild. It was it's not for the week. It was not for the week. Yeah.
So you started Hudson Group in 2012.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to fast forward just a little bit into 2023 and bring us to like what services do you guys offer now? Okay. What are you guys doing as a company now, and so forth?
So Hudson Group Realty Network is the real estate platform, right? That we sell all types of properties. Right now, most of our properties are upper end, but we sell anything. We work with anybody. HDR Capital is another subsidiary of Hudson Group, which is the lending arm. So we're a national lender. We lend our money. We tell people you have to qualify. This is the criteria we need. You qualify. We close the loan. We'll close all 50 states. And then HDR Media is the company above it, which documents everything to kind of illustrate. And the reason, like we talked off camera before, the reason for it is simply to show it's possible, right? And again, not in a braggadocious way, but rather in a yo, why not you? Yo, take something that you see that I did or I'm doing, and tweak it so it works for you and in your market or however you're doing it, and do it. Like, I look like you. I come from where you come from. I could do it. You could do it. That's really the whole message. I think before that, we didn't have enough representation. And I use these words sparingly because I don't think people understand the gravity of certain words. When I say representation, I mean, you don't see people anywhere, whether you Google something, hey, doctor, you don't see anybody that looks like you. You know, lender, professional, you don't see anybody that looks like you. So then you start thinking subconsciously, all right, so this ain't me.
This ain't me. I can't do it.
Right. Maybe who am I? Am I the car wash guy? And I'm saying, fuck that. I had to say it again. I'm saying, no. You could be a CEO. I was going to the Nets game the other day with my boy, and he was like, that's a microaggression, Omar. I didn't realize it. And I didn't really think about it, but now that I think about it, it is. So we're walking. We ate and we walked into our seats and we sit on the floor, right? We sit on the wood. And the guy's like, are you a fighter? Are you a boxer? And I'm like, nah, man, I'm CEO. I was like, I'm not a boxer, I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
And my man was like, oh, that's a microaggression. I'm like, is it? He was like, yeah, why you gotta be a fighter, bro? Why can't you be a businessman? Why can't you use your brain? I was like, but it came from another Latino. So I feel like he doesn't know any better.
Imposter syndrome, we were speaking about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. But these are just I'm giving you little anecdotes of things that I'm going through that I don't even realize until your friends pointed out, and I'm like, But going back to what I was saying to you is that's why it's so important for representation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't wait till there's a Latino president. I mean, I don't know what you're gonna do there because obviously politics is a whole different thing. But until that happens, it'll never be mentally possible for somebody to see themselves there.
No, 100%. Talk to us about what a day in a life looks like for you. Like, what does a hustle look like for you? I know you mentioned before this conversation that you get up at 4 every morning.
4 to 5 in the morning, depending on how cold it is now.
Yeah.
Because I have the gym in my garage. It doesn't have heat, so it's a whole different thing. But I wake up early. I ground myself with the workout. I like to be at my desk, whatever office I'm at, by 8:30, and then I got to tell the teams. I have team meetings. I have processing teams, I have loan officer teams, I have real estate agent teams. We go over what their goals are for the day, or where are we, or what we're going for the week, and then I just assign. And then my business is really to kind of supervise, or I have certain clients that only want to talk to me. I have other clients that talk to my team, my liaisons, and I kind of try to figure that out. But the good thing about having a team under you working on the work, I now have the ability to do little things. I'll use an example, like I recently got new signatures for my emails. There's like little shit like that, nuances that you're working on your business, because when people see your electronic signature, it's almost like seeing what kind of clothes you have on. Everything has to like.
That's a fact.
You want to be this person. You got it right. It has to look on at all levels. So it gives me time to work on things like that, which might not be a big deal to somebody else, but subconsciously, when you see emails come from certain people and they look a certain way, and you're like, oh, it's a real place, or this is a real dude, or I think I spoke to you off camera. It's like, you walk in a room, you're fit, you're in shape. This guy respects himself. Why? He must be doing something, because he's not a regular. It's like it's just these assumptions, all these social indicators that people don't understand. Like you walk in a room and you're looking like, you just woke up, your eyes all crazy, you're like, yo, who is this dude? Like, all of a sudden, you have to work that much harder for credibility. You walk in and you look a certain way, you talk a certain way, you move a certain way, and they're like, oh, there's so much less work going into justifying who you are. And I know it sounds, like almost like classification, but it's the truth. People are judgy. They're gonna judge you no matter what. So either you control it or you become a victim to it.
Yeah. So something I wanted to ask you is, what's one thing from 2022 that you want to improve upon in 2023? So I'll give you a second to think about that. For me, one of the things I really want to work on this year is to continue to build on momentum, right? So one of the things I wanted to do going into 2023, and this is the third weekend into 2023, is just continue to build that momentum in whatever I'm doing. So something, for example, last year, like I would be consistent with the podcast, and then life would happen and the momentum will go.
Right.
So going into 2023, I wanted to make sure I had all my interviews lined up for New York, everything set up, and just to continue to ride that momentum. What's one thing from last year that you want to improve upon?
Things that I've already initiated for last year, going into this year. I don't want to put them on the camera because, obviously there's some things that would be a surprise, but one thing with the team is like I've noticed, like I have a couple of guys that work for me, and I believe in proximity. I believe in being around somebody. If you want to learn something from somebody who's really good at it, you got to be around them. You can't. It's not Zoom. It's not on the phone. You got to be around them. You got to see the way he analyzes things, the way he break it down, the way he in conversations, the way he interacts with people. Like if your team wants to be as good as you, they have to be around you. And so this year I'm working on being around my team more. Even like tomorrow we have to go do appraisals. It's just a walkthrough. My client doesn't speak English. Appraisal doesn't speak Spanish, so I speak both. And I'm telling my man Mike to be there. I'm like, you gotta be there. I want you to see what I tell them, see what I don't tell them, what I show them, what you don't talk about, what you can't talk about, because there's certain like legalities that you can't talk about. Like, and there's no way that it takes so much more to try to explain it as an abstract, comparing it, doing it on site. Like experiencing it is number one. So this year, I'm going to be spending a little more time with my team and giving them the experience they need, because if I make them better, then I don't have to be as good, right? Or I can have a day off, or I want to take a weekend and not be there. Yo, I need you to handle that. Why? Well, we did this last week, remember? Yeah, just like that, just do it again. So, you know, like that's what I'm kind of trying to build on in terms of bringing my team up to the next level.
Yeah, I love that. Knowing what you know now as an entrepreneur, what would you do differently, let's just say 5 years ago? Because you've been an entrepreneur for a while now. What would you do differently knowing what you know now?
I'm going to say this, and you're probably like, well, for real, that's a fucked up answer. Nothing. You know why? Because every mistake I've made has taught me so much more. And every mistake I've made, I can sound them off to you. Like they're lessons, they're life lessons. And I believe if I don't get these life lessons, then I might make a bigger mistake later. So I take my L's. I take my dubs. I take my L's. And of course we all judge you sometimes. We're like, oh, you know, could have done this better. And like, but I'm like, yo, man, how would you have known that? Like, there's no way to know everything. You want to try to know everything, but there's no way to know everything. So
talk to us about a recent mistake or failure that you went through, and how did you overcome it?
Recent mistake I've made. Actually, no, it wasn't a mistake. It turned out well, but sometimes being too accessible is and when I say that, is like you have to draw boundaries for clients in a good way. It doesn't have to be and sometimes clients, you know, get in their bag, and they're like sensitive and they only want to talk to you, but they also have to understand that, you know, you're a professional and you have a family too. And so working on that, and I didn't lose my cool during this whole transaction, but it was a test, because it was such a test that it would affect me. Like I would be tired at the end of the day, because you're like, you have this mental bandwidth that's taking from you, and even if you try to like not think about it anymore, if you're a true fucking professional, shout out to all you guys out there, it stays with you, bro, because you want to be the best, right? You want the best version, whatever that is, and being the best means like, you know, working when nobody else is working, thinking about how can I do this, how can I do that, but to a point, don't make it self-destructive, right? And that becomes, you can be aware, but don't be self-destructive. And that, I believe, is that the gift and the curse that I have, because sometimes my wife will be like, all right, enough, no more, let's not talk about that no more, let's talk about this. And you know, and sometimes I disconnect, escapism, watch a funny movie, usually go to the game or something like that to kind of decompress. Yeah,
I was just gonna ask you, like, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, CEO, someone that's creating content constantly, how do you take care of your mental health, right? How do you take care of yourself? How do you make sure that you're good? Because I know we live in this hustle culture where we got to go. And it's like, do we ever take a step back and see if we're good? Are we even enjoying the process?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so, and you've been at it for a while now. So how do you take a step back and take care of your mental health, especially as an entrepreneur? That's something that we don't talk a lot about. Is we glorify the nice watch, the nice cars, the lifestyle. But how many more people on the other side are going through like the dark times, and like, let's be honest, some people are going through depression, suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. How do you make sure that you're on point, making sure you're showing up for your family as well?
I think trying to be there when you're there, right? Because there's a lot of people that are there physically but not there mentally. So and doing shit that I enjoy that other people might enjoy. Like this morning I was playing basketball with my 18-year-old. I'm not moving like I was 18 no more, but I still try, right? I still play, and it just gives us that time together. And if you're playing basketball competitive, and I don't care who you are, if you're trying to play to win, right? So I'm going against other dudes my age, and we're trying to win. So like, there's no way I'm thinking about anything else except this fucking game, right? So that, and also sometimes looking at or speaking to somebody or speaking to my kids in particular about what's going on with them. It really helps me disconnect, because at the end of the day, to me, look, we talked about it. Money, it makes things easier, but at the end of the day, it's just a vehicle. It's not going to make you happy, right? Making me happy is having these memories, because at the end of the day, we are just a summary of memories, guy. Our life is just a summary of events. We don't take it with us, right? The Egyptians tried to, they can't.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So me looking at them and making sure that I spend time with my family sometimes, and not spending time begrudgingly. Like in the beginning of my my career, because I was young and I had nothing, I was almost a little bit obsessed, and I wasn't as present as I could be. And even though I'm nowhere near where I want to be, I also understand how precious everything is. So when I'm, let's say, having dinner with my kids, I'm having dinner with my kids. I'm not. I put the phone on silent. There's nothing more important right now than talking to these guys and talking to my wife, or because for the most part, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Look, I'm working tomorrow, which is a Sunday. I'm working MLK Day because clients are off, so they can see me. So when I'm very stingy with my time, and so when I'm doing something else, because I feel that I give so much to my career, to my clients, my employees. So that when I want to do something for me, I don't feel guilty about it. Because usually I'm giving more than I get anyway. But doing something I enjoy, distracting, whether it's buying sneakers with my kids that we're matching, even though that sounds corny, it's just little shit that you can share, that you could talk, like, I don't want to demean it and say nonsense, but we talk about J's, we're not solving any incredible crisis. We're talking bullshit, but it's those memories that I believe they'll have later, and the ones that I have, because I like to just talk to them on their terms too. Because like we were talking off camera, I'm this businessman, whatever level of success I have, but to them, I'm just dad.
Just dad.
Yeah. So I could be Steve Jobs, rest in peace, or whatever. At home, it's just that. It's just, it ain't nobody. It's just that. He's just talking shit. So
I'm curious, and you can be as transparent as you want with this. You being a successful father, how do you plan on securing your legacy and generational wealth? I think I literally was reading something yesterday. I think for people that create generational wealth, the wealth, it goes away after 2 generations or after 1 generation.
Yeah, it's about financial literacy, right? Yeah. It's about educating them. And I try to do it in a way where they don't understand that I'm educating them, because if you try to just kind of pound it to them, they just don't take to it. So like the other day, I'm driving with my 18-year-old. I'm like, hey man, give me 3 reasons why you should invest in real estate. So he's giving me like these reasons, like, well, they're not making more of it. Generally, I said they're all great answers. I was like, but think of these things. I said, you're buying something that appreciates. You know what that means? He goes, no. I go, well, you bought it for $1, and in 2 years it'll be worth $2, right? And 3 years, $3. Think about that. So it's going up in value. So if you ever had to sell it, you make more than you bought it for. I was like, you can write off the depreciation. Do you know what that is? He goes, no. I go, you're gonna have to pay taxes eventually in your life. I said, but as an owner, a business owner, and a property owner, you can write certain things off that you spend money on, so you can keep more money in your pocket. So it's not about how much you're making; it's about how much you're keeping, right? And I said, and the third thing, I was like, cash flow. I was like, let's say you have to pay $2,000 a month to maintain this property, but you're getting $8,000 a month. You're getting $6,000 a month. I was like, then you play the depreciation game and you keep $6,000 a month. Do you see it now? So I break it down to really the digestible parts. And for my other part is, of course, once you reach a certain level of success and you have certain things, you should definitely think about opening a trust, having a trust. You should I have every building I have has life insurance policies on it, so that I have an agreement with my partners. God forbid I expire first, they're the beneficiaries of the life insurance policy, whatever number that is, and they sign over that money to my family, and my family just signs over the building. Because I didn't want to burden them with running a business, and I've never heard of a story where one partner dies and their family comes in and it's a great thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they'll get whatever they're getting and they can start their own thing. And honestly, that's the most I can do. I can't worry about, what are they gonna do in the future? I was like, not everybody's built for business. And especially I think I am more in tune to business because I understand how it works to kind of help change your life. Whereas the kids that I'm raising don't know scarcity. So this is, regular Monday, right? Like we live in this certain area, we do certain things. And so we have to find whatever adversity it is that will inspire them to kind of ignite their passion in whatever that is. And it might be creative. It might not be business.
Did that frustrate you in any type of way? Like, y'all didn't grow up like how I grew up. You know what I'm saying? You guys.
I think listen, and this is where we can talk about the difference in age here. What we do as parents is a direct reflection of the pain that we've endured, right? And the pain that I endured was not having. So I did whatever I could, and I'm still doing it to this day, where I don't want my kids to ever feel that. Like, you can't get those, or you can't afford that, or you're poor, or, your clothes are dirty. Like, those are things that they'll never endure. So do I get frustrated with them once in a while? Yeah, once in a while. But then going back to the statement I made to you, I've made it to my wife multiple times. I was like, they don't know anything else. So that's the gift and the curse, right? So no, like, it is what it is. This is the life I built for them, and I'm glad to build it because the whole concept is to give them a better life than you had. And eventually, like, I tell them, look, one day I'm not going to be here, so you got to take the kingdom and make it happen. So whatever that's going to be. And I said, I don't know what your strengths are, and you have to identify those strengths, and then you're going to have to work on those strengths. Yeah,
love that. I'd love to dive into your investments a little bit. The other day you made a video about like the different investments that you've made in 2022. You said apartment buildings, an app, stocks. I'm curious, what is your approach to investing? When do you feel like it's the right time? I know each one of those is like a completely different investment.
Yeah.
How do you approach maybe each one? When is it, like, the question everybody has right now, in addition to that, is, should I buy a home right now? Should I put my money in real estate? Should I wait until the market goes lower? What are we doing right now? What are your thoughts about that?
I think buying a primary, the best day to buy it is today, if not yesterday. And the reason, it's not so much the economics behind it, it's the mindset shift of it.
Primary.
Yeah, the mindset shift of it is this. The mindset shift, if you go to a neighborhood where everybody owns their house and lives in their house, those streets are immaculate. Everybody cares about their shit. There's no garbage. If you go to a place where everybody's a tenant, there's garbage everywhere. There's no connection to it. So I feel that people should feel connected to their real estate because it's almost an extension of who you are. Your mindset changes. Now you own shit. Now you start learning about depreciation. Now you start learning about write-offs. Now you start educating yourself financially. Now your $80,000 a year can stretch into 120, right? Like there's ways to leverage yourself, but without applying it, you'll never learn. And it's like me teaching it a classroom, but until you do it yourself and you'll like, you know how like you don't believe it until you see it, like till you get that first tax refund check where you wrote off all the improvements you made on your house and usually get $6,000 back and you get $20,000 back. And you can take that money and reinvest it in your house in an asset that's gonna appreciate, right? Writing off depreciation, like learning those concepts because you've been a W-2 employee all your life and money's been taken out of your pocket without you having a say. Now you have a say of actually getting money back into your pocket. Now what you do with that money becomes the true win, right? Whether you go buy yourself a pair of J's or you buy yourself another house or whatever, but you know, like that becomes the financial literacy part. So I think that people should invest in a home. I think if they want to buy an investment property, they should do that too, but don't buy an investment property where you're like, God forbid your tenant doesn't pay you, you go into foreclosure. You have to buy it within scale. And so what I mean by that is I have a lot of clients that are buying in Pennsylvania right now. New York money in Pennsylvania, if you make 120 in New York City, you could buy a house in Pennsylvania for 80,000, 100,000, fix it. They're Airbnb-ing it, they're renting it, they're making $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. Where in New York City, they'd have to be in a $700,000, $800,000 kind of game. So take your money and use it where it moves the most, you know?
Yeah, talk to us about this app that you invested in.
Modi app.
Yeah, what made you want to invest in a tech app And like, I mean, that's outside of what you've been doing. So
Yeah.
talk to us about that.
Well, because I see that with COVID, a tech app is global, right? And also I believe in the jockey, the guy who designed it, Hugo and Jeff and those guys. The fact that it's a Latino owned app was a third piece for me. But the part I love about it is something that I use, right? There's money transfer. Like I Wire, I Zelle, I Venmo, Cash App, all centralize that shit. Use one thing, and you know, God forbid I can make money off of it or get paid. Like if it pops, you make an explosive amount ROI. But on the other side of that is that you have to understand that is a almost like a business strategy, because tech apps, they're not, you know, like they're high risk, right? So it has to be something that if you take an L, you gotta, you know,
You gotta eat that.
you gotta do this and just keep pushing. you gotta take it out. So it's not for everybody.
Nope.
So most of my money I invested in 2 buildings, 21 and 50 unit, and I life insured them, and I have some stock. But the Modi app was like, in your portfolio you have something that's called conservative and you have something called aggressive, right? So the Modi app was my most aggressive play, because if it pops, I'm 100 times in my money. If it doesn't, I'm not going broke. I'm still working. But that's one of the things I tell people that talk about investing. I'm like, look, you never stop moving. Like, you put it there with all intents and do what you can to help it move along. But your main money maker has to stay your main focus.
Keep the main thing the main thing.
Right. Keep the main thing the main thing. Keep making money.
Yeah.
Because if it goes well, that's great. If it goes bad, you might like suck your teeth or something, but you're not, you know, you didn't mortgage your house for it.
Yeah.
So that's because everybody wants to get rich quick scheme. And I'm just saying, like, just be smart. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't say don't save money. I'm saying, you know, have some things that are going to grow, have some money, always have the 6 months reserves. Like, if you can build all of that and you start having more of a thriving mindset to pull that from EYL, instead of a scarcity mindset where you're always kind of behind, things start changing. Everything looks like an opportunity for you. And that's what I want people to start trying to do. Like, look at the opportunities to win. And it also delves back into what I was telling you before. If you have service, opportunities come to find you, because people want to rock with good people. People will look for you. I've been lucky. You know, people look for me because of the work I've done with other people.
That's a fact. Yeah. Love that. Definitely a great person. You know, I love how you know, we were chopping it up for a while. Most people would not do that, take the time to do that.
Yeah.
You're a busy guy, so I definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate you being on this podcast, and we can start wrapping this thing up. One thing I always ask my guests before they leave is, who is one person that needs to be on the Latin Wealth podcast? The only exception is you got to know them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So who's one person you think needs to be on this platform?
I think I'll nominate Chris Cabanillas on this one.
Okay.
Very well-known attorney in Westchester. Does very well for himself. Has a thriving law firm with about 16 offices. Good friend of mine. And I can introduce you guys, and you could do something like that.
Love it. With that being said, where can people reach out to you? Where can people find more information about you? I'll link everything in the description of this podcast, but go ahead, talk to the people.
Ask Luis Omar on all of the platforms. I made it all very uniform. I have a website, Ask Luis Omar. Ask Luis Omar, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Ask Luis Omar. Just Ask Luis Omar.
And you guys know where to find us at Latin Wealth on Instagram. Go ahead and share this episode with one other person or family member that needs to hear this. And with that being said, it's your boy Chris. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.